Kuroneko is a 1968 horror fantasy from director Kenito Shindo. Originally titled Yabu no Naka no Kuroneko, or Black Cat from the Grove, it was shortened to just Kuroneko or The Black Cat for its Western release. It is rooted in the Japanese folk stories of Onryu, the vengeful spirits of those who were abused in life. The film is set during the Sengoku period of the mid-15th to early 17th century. Japanese folk tales speak of two types of supernatural cats, the Mani-Kiniko and the Bakiniko. The Mani-Kiniko brings good fortune and so is typically seen on the counter of Japanese businesses, with one paw raised in a greeting and the other resting on a coin. The Bakiniko, by contrast, is kissing cousin to the shape-shifting fox the Kitsune and the sly mischievous raccoon dogs the Tanuki. None are inherently evil, but are capable of mimicking other creatures, including humans, to stir up trouble. The Bakiniko, however, will often eat the person whose form that they are taking. With this in mind, the movie starts with a band of samurai raping, pillaging and leaving for dead a mother and daughter in their burning hut. The hut is reduced to rubble, but when the fire subsides, the two bodies have miraculously been left unharmed. A mysterious black cat appears and picks its way through the rubble until it discovers the bodies, and then is seen licking the blood of the wounds as if it is going to consume the dead. The Bakiniko takes the form of the young girl who it has consumed and exacts revenge on a samurai that abused and murdered her and her mother. Once gossip about grove ghosts lurking and killing samurai reaches the shogun, a lone samurai is sent to play a dark cat-and-mouse game with the spirits to banish them for good. But little does he know that the grove ghosts may be more familiar to him than he first realizes. And what should he do when faced with the reality of what happened to his wife and mother-in-law and his loyalty to the shogun? The movie has gorgeous cinematography and a great percussive score that sets real tension. The movie is scored by Hikaru Hayashi, who would go on to score the brilliantly eerie Dario Argento film Suspiria. This one is a black and white wonder that shows true horror elements without needing shock and gore factor. You can watch the movie now if you subscribe to the BFI player on Amazon or on the BFI website. Alternatively, it is available on DVD and Blu-ray from Amazon.co.uk and Amazon.com. Cure is a 1997 Japanese horror thriller written and directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. It follows police detective Takabe, a man juggling his job and his wife's progressive dementia, facing a series of crimes that has a direct connection to the symptoms of his partner's illness. A spate of murders, all perpetrated by different individuals who confess at once but are in a daze as to what they have done and why, and all involving victims whose necks have been slashed open in a distinctive X pattern, which marks the spot as the common signature for otherwise apparently unrelated acts. As Takabe tries to understand what connects these serial killings, he is drawn to Mamiya, a former psychology student with a special interest in mesmerism. He seems to display signs of having amnesia himself, but could he be the master manipulator puppeteering these crimes? This is an unnerving film helped by the detached tone suggested by the static camera work employed for the long, widely framed shots of shocking and entirely unexpected violence. South Korean director of the award-winning Parasite, Bong Joon-ho, recently listed this film as one of the greatest ever made. You can watch the movie now if you subscribe to the BFI player on Amazon or the BFI website. Alternatively, it is available on DVD and Blu-ray from Amazon.co.uk and Amazon.com. Kaiden is a 1964 horror fantasy film directed by Masaki Kobayashi. The title translates as Ghost Stories, and is an anthology of 4 separate unrelated stories based on folk tales. The first tale is Kurokami, or the Black Hare. In it, an impoverished swordsman divorces his wife to move in with a woman of a wealthy family to attain greater social status. However, his new wife, although wealthy, is callous and selfish, and the swordsman ends up regretting leaving his more devoted and patient ex-wife. On finding out the swordsman only married her for her family's wealth and intends to go back to his old life and partner in Kyoto, she is unsurprisingly furious. The swordsman returns home to Kyoto to reconcile with his ex-wife, but things don't go as smoothly as he had hoped. She welcomes him back with open arms, but soon his dreams become a nightmare. The second tale is Yuki-onna, or the Tale of the Snow Woman. A Yuki-onna is a spirit depicted as a woman who is encompassed by snow and ice. In this tale, 2 woodcutters take refuge in a fisherman's hut during a snowstorm. During the night, one of the woodcutters is killed by a Yukiana. However, the other is spared because of his youth and beauty, but he is threatened to never tell what happened, or she will come after him also. He returns home and keeps his promise to the spirit, and shortly afterwards meets a beautiful young woman who he falls in love with. They get married and he has 3 children. But one night when his wife is sewing by candlelight, he sees a resemblance to her and the Yuki-onna he met many years back. But should he say something? The third tale is Miminashi Hoichi no Hanashi, or Hoichi the Earless. Hoichi is a young blind musician who plays the biwa. He is an attendant at a temple, and one night is summoned by a spectral samurai to his lord's house to perform. Night after night the spectre leads the musician to what he believes is the lord of the temple's home to play for him. However, the other attendants find out he is actually being led to a graveyard to perform for the court of the dead emperor. The attendants forcibly remove him before he is able to finish his performance and take him to the local priest. He is warned that the spirits are using him and eventually he will be destroyed by them, and so for protection they write the text of the Heart Sutra on his entire body, including his face, to make him invisible to the ghosts. However, they have forgotten to write on his ears. The final tale is Chawan no Naka, or In a Cup of Tea. In this tale, a writer relates an old story of an attendant to Lord Nakagawa Sadana, who sees the face of a strange man in a cup of tea whilst visiting a tea house in Hakusan. The attendant does not heed the warning of the spirit and continues to drink the tea, and then finds himself haunted by the spirit from the cup. The writer, however, states that the tale never had an ending, and so he is going to finish the story himself. In 1964, it was the most expensive Japanese film ever made, and it certainly shows, with most of the film shot on giant sets built inside an airplane hangar. It plays out like a visually impressive theatre production, and with eerie musical scores fitting for each tale. This is another wonderful slice of old cinema that works on the scare factor without using modern horror tropes. Much like the previous 2 films, you can watch this movie if you subscribe to the BFI player on Amazon or on the BFI website. Alternatively, it is available on DVD and Blu-ray from Amazon.co.uk and Amazon.com. Onibaba is a 1964 horror drama directed by Kenito Shindo. This is the same director of the first film on this list, Kuroneko. Term Onibaba comes from the Japanese folktale of the demon hag. The film is set in an unspecified area of Japan in the mid-14th century during a period of civil war. An impoverished mother and her daughter-in-law eke out a lonely, desperate existence. Forced to murder lost samurai and sell their belongings for grain, they dump the bodies down a deep, dark hole and live off their meagre spoils. When a bedraggled neighbour returns from the skirmishes, lust, jealousy and rage threaten to destroy the trio's tenuous existence before the ominous, ill-gotten demon mask seals the trio's horrifying fate. This is again a chilling and macabre tale with stunning images from Shindo and another frenzied and brilliant score by Hikaru Hayashi. Onibaba is also available now if you subscribe to the BFI player on Amazon or the BFI website. Alternatively, it is available on DVD and Blu-ray from Amazon.co.uk and Amazon.com. Audition is a 1999 Japanese horror film directed by Takeshi Miike. A middle-aged widower and his film producer friend hold fake movie auditions in a disguised attempt to find himself a new partner. His attraction is drawn to an ex-ballerina, however the references she provided don't check out. Unbeknownst to the widower, she lives alone in an empty apartment with a mysterious sack, a sack that occasionally groans and moves. The latter half of the film descends into scenes which, with generous help from an impeccable film score from Koji Endo, ensure you'll never look at a piano wire in the same way again. Takeshi Miike makes the film uncomfortable viewing, much like his other well-known features, Visitor Q and Ichi the Killer, touching this time on exploitation and abuse, a vengeful female trope as punishment for the widower's male-centric arrogance. At a time when the power dynamic of men and women within Japanese society was shifting, this film highlighted the objectification of the female form, and many would say created an exaggerated feminist icon in leather-clad disguise. Audition is another film that is available if you subscribe to the BFI player on Amazon or on the BFI website. Alternatively, it is also available on DVD and Blu-ray from Amazon.co.uk and Amazon.com. Uzumaki is a Japanese horror sci-fi film from the year 2000 directed by Higuchinsky. Uzumake's English translation is Spiral and is based on a 3-volume manga series of the same name. The film consists of 4 acts: premonition, erosion, visitation, and transmigration. Kiri and Suichi are friends in a small town called Kuruzocho who notice that Suichi's father, Toshio, has been utterly obsessed with snails, videotaping them in his garden and gathering items that resemble the spiral patterns on their shells. Kiri sees spirals everywhere too, even in the way people dress and compart their bodies. When their curiosities turn to tragedies, Suichi wants to escape to Tokyo, but Kiri is determined to stay and figure out what is going on. What's most impressive about this one is how close it comes to bringing the manga's bizarre and unnerving visual style to life. It's evident from the beginning the utmost care was taken in this area, as certain panels and sequences are recreated with meticulous detail. The film was also created before the manga had been concluded, and so the film's ending differs from the manga, bringing a fresh interpretation of the final act on both media styles. Uzumaki is not available currently on any streaming services, and the only DVDs that I can find at this moment in time are imported versions on second-hand websites. Sumitai Netegoi, or Cold Fish, is a 2010 Japanese horror thriller directed by Sion Sono. Nobuyuko is the quiet and unambitious owner of a Shizuoka shop specializing in tropical fish. His home life is troubled, he is divorced, and his teenage daughter is rebellious and physically abuses her new stepmom. When she is caught shoplifting, a mysterious stranger who frequents Nobuyuki's fish shop manages to get the charges dropped against the girl. And he befriends Nobuyuki over their common interest in tropical fish, telling him that he should come visit his new Shizuoka shop. Eventually, Nobuyuki is convinced into going into business with the stranger and takes on his daughter to work in the shop. The mysterious stranger and his wife, however, are not as pleasant and caring as they may seem when their gruesome hobbies are brought to light. The pace builds fantastically from a slow beginning as we are gradually pulled into the grim reality, which is based on a true story of husband and wife serial killers Sekine Gen and Hiroko Kazama, who owned a pet shop and murdered at least 4 people. It looks at the role of men and women in Japanese society and how the inability to handle emotions can spiral out of control. Cold Fish is available through a subscription to Shudder on Amazon Prime Video or the Shudder website, or is available on DVD and Blu-ray from both Amazon.co.uk and Amazon.com. Ryaru Onigaku, or Tag, is a 2015 Japanese action horror film directed by Sion Sono. Tag is certainly not matinee fare for the faint-hearted, and the film's first part may come as a visceral shock as a mysterious wind arrives out of nowhere to abruptly and literally rip apart 2 coachloads of schoolgirls travelling on a country road. The only survivor of the calamity is Mitsuko, who dodges the murderous, mysterious airstream and flees to a nearby town. Somehow, though, students she doesn't know acknowledge her as a longtime friend and classmate. She has barely eased into her new environment when her good times are shattered by another bloodbath and she is on the run again, where she bumps into Kiko, a woman who is getting ready to prepare for her wedding. The walk down the aisle for Kiko then turns into a run-for-your-life situation, which leads them on to the final heroine, marathon runner Izume, who must compete against villains and monsters bursting onto the scene as she tries to complete the race and survive. The one element underlining all the characters' existence is the unending need to run for survival. The premise is based on a 2001 novel in which people sharing a similar surname are hunted down and killed. The name Tag comes from the children's game in which, in its simplest form, the player who is it chases the other players, trying to touch one of them and thereby making that person it. The novel has been adapted for the screen a few times during the past decade, including a 5-film franchise called The Chasing World. But Tag offers a major departure by relocating most of the story to a world solely populated by women. The reading of this film as a feminist tract is given credence as the film enters its final act, when all is revealed about the true nature of the three protagonists' existence and how they can break out of this misogynistic vicious cycle. Performances are uniformly energetic and effective from a vibrant cast. German-Japanese actress Trendle shines as the opening chapter's terrified heroine, with lots of prosthetic effects helping with the horror and gore factor, and with excellent use of drone-mounted cameras for capturing menace in those action shots. Tomonobu Kokichi's peppy score and a selection of guitar rock numbers from J-Rocker's Mono are nicely in tune with the fast pace of this tale. Tag is currently streaming for free with Amazon Prime Video or available on DVD and Blu-ray from Amazon.co.uk and Amazon.com. Ekasute, or X-Day Hair Extensions, is a 2007 Japanese horror film from Sion Sono. X-Day opens with customs agents discovering large quantities of human hair in a shipping container, along with the body of a young girl. At the morgue, an autopsy confirms that the girl has been the victim of organ theft, and also she has an unusual amount of hair all over her body. Night watchman for the morgue has an unusual hair fetish, and so is obsessed with the body and decides to take it home with him, where he discovers that it doesn't just grow hair. When it is cut, it regrows hair at an alarming rate. Not only does this weird anomaly satisfy his fetish, but he also sees a good income opportunity where he could sell the hair as potential extensions to hair salons. He takes some of the hair to a local salon. They are very impressed with the quality and are interested in taking them as extensions. However, one of the employees decides to wear the extensions home and is later killed. Could the cause of death have been the hair extensions, and are they possessed by a vengeful spirit? Sono again uses dark humour in his trademark practical effects that will satisfy any gorehound and fan of weird cinema. This one is less scary horror and thrives more on suspense and creepiness. Ren Isugu gives a great performance as the bizarre watchman with a weird hair fetish. X-Day Hair Extensions is currently not available on any streaming service, and a DVD and Blu-ray copy is available on import. As always with these things, 10 films is never enough, so here are 4 honourable mentions that I couldn't quite fit in detail. Death Note is a 2006 mystery with some horror elements, directed by Shizuki Kaneko and based on a manga series. The main story has been divided into 2 parts, which encapsulates the basic initial storyline of the manga series. So there are many elements to the plot of this one, but the basic storyline is that a god of death has accidentally dropped his book upon the earth. A high school boy finds it and looks into the book and finds out that he can write the name of anyone in the book and the cause of death, and it will happen in real life. So he tries to use it for the power of good, but ends up spiraling out of control. Monsters is a 2014 horror drama directed by Hideo Nakata. A nameless man possesses a special ability to manipulate others with just a stare. His ability was discovered as a child when he used it to kill his abusive father in a fit of anger. Now he lives a lonely life in the dark side of a city. Meanwhile, Suichi is a poor but positive character who crosses paths with the nameless man, but seems to be the only person unaffected by the man's manipulative stare. Dark Water is a 2002 horror drama directed by Hideo Nakata. This dark and moody film, a newly single mom, Yoshimi, is enduring a bitter divorce and facing a custody battle for her daughter. The two move into a rundown apartment and start experiencing supernatural occurrences that seem to stem from a mysterious water leak from the floor above. Camera o Temero na, translated as Don't Stop the Camera, or better known for its Western release as One Cut of the Dead, is a 2017 Japanese zombie comedy directed by Shinichiro Ueda. This film was made on a budget of just 3 million yen, or $25,000, and has gained a cult following, managing to make 3.12 billion yen through its re-release after some successful film festival showings. The premise of the film is a cast and crew are filming a low-budget zombie flick when a real zombie apocalypse takes place, and the director sees this as a fine opportunity to keep rolling the cameras to make real life the film's focus. Death Note is not available on streaming services, but parts 1 and 2 are easily available on DVD and Blu-ray. Monsters is not available on DVD and Blu-ray other than an imported version, but can be rented or purchased on Amazon Prime Video. Dark Water is available on DVD and Blu-ray or can be rented or purchased on Amazon Prime Video, and One Cut of the Dead is available on DVD or Blu-ray and can be watched for free with a subscription to Shudder on Amazon Prime Video or via the Shudder website. Kami-sama no Latori, or As the Gods Will, is a 2014 Japanese supernatural horror film directed by Takashi Miike. It is based on the first arc of the manga series of the same name. The film starts in a school classroom as a class of high school students is winnowed down by a cartoonish Daruma doll playing a lethal game of red light, green light. If anyone moves when the doll is facing them, their heads explode in a shower of bloody marbles. The game only ends when one of them pushes the button on the back of the doll's head, but it is quickly revealed that this is merely the first of many dangerous encounters that the children will face if they are going to survive the day. How the Daruma game began is eventually explained via a brief perfunctory flashback, but the larger narrative implications are never fully resolved. For some reason, an omniscient force has targeted high school students across the world for a series of deadly games. Whatever or whoever is responsible, and the reasons why are mainly unexplained, and these contextual questions are dismissed by the narrative as unimportant. What is important is the visceral experience. As the Gods Will is a high-octane violent action comedy with horror elements similar to those of Battle Royale. With little character development, it opts for a fun time flick where the situation is important and not our connection to the students themselves. As the Gods Will is not playing on any of the major streaming services, but if you search for it online hard enough you will find it on some streaming sites. It is available as an imported version on DVD or Blu-ray if you want to go by the official channels.